So I had reason to discuss objectivity and subjectivity again in Stickham. It was a very interesting. It was a very intelligent conversation, I thought. The participants in there. It was one of Stickham's good moments that makes me wonder less why I go looking there for conversation when you have one like this. And it reminded me about this an old point, and it is old. It's I mean, for years I've tried to make this point, or I believed this point in my own philosophy, both of those things. And it's the fact that objectivity is a subset of subjectivity. So so yeah, subjectivity is not um, opposite of objectivity. That's one of the ramifications of that. It's not opposite at all. So the idea is that what is subjectivity? Well, subjectivity is everything. Um, it's everything we experience. We experience as subjects. This is what this means. And again, it's not really. This isn't a matter of like a discovery, an inquiry. Okay. This is a matter of definition. We are the subject. That's what that means. We're the subject, and everything we experience subjectively. So, okay. Well, I was sorting some stuff, so I guess I have to stop that now. Or else the video won't work. Well, I can always just cut it out, but I might forget, is the thing. Because, and besides, I like one take. Oh. Anyway, subjectivity and objectivity. So, yeah. I mean, basically, I think by definition, really, everything we experience is subjective. Now, granted, we have this theory that there's this external world, and we could call that the objective world, but I also want to remind you there's other things that can be called, like the material universe, the physical world. There's a lot of other terms besides objective world. Objective casts certain patterns on it that this just don't apply, but whatever, we'll talk about that later. Um, well, no, I mean, I'll talk about it now in the sense that that's the classical definition of objective that does that. My definition of where objective is a subset of the subjective doesn't do that. Okay. But anyway, so we start with all of the perceptions and ideas we have about, the perceptions we've had. And all of our perceptions and feelings, wherever they come from. And this is our subjective universe. The objective reality is a subset of that, okay? It's a subset that we find most reliable, that comes from the senses, or, well, basically if it comes from the senses or is abstracted from sense information. That's our model of physical reality, and it too is in this world where everything's subjective, remember? So it's still subjective, and it's like, no, but it's about this other thing outside of us. Well, that thing outside of you is whatever it is, okay? But we are creating an idea about the objective world and what it means to be objective, both a model and sets of rules of how we get it. Okay, and so how do we get this? Well, we start with all of the stream of perceptions, and it comes to us mixed with sense perceptions and illusions, okay? But we don't even know that distinction at first, right? It's just coming to us. And we don't know if you're, young enough or primitive enough from history. You might look at the cloud and see the face in the cloud, and it's like, oh, there's a spirit in the cloud. But over time, and I'll say how, by what principles, we are able to sort what we call the sense perceptions from the non-sense perceptions. And of course, the way we do that is consistency, okay? If you look away or close your eyes and look back at something, it should still be there. Okay, if you close your eyes, a lot of your sense perceptions will just go away. Your visual sense perceptions will go away right then, and that's one way to tell. But you could open your eyes and see a hallucination again, because hallucinations can be that sophisticated. But ultimately, your tool is these kinds of consistency, so that everything behaves in this consistent manner. And when your senses tell you that, you believe more that it's about the real world. Okay. So that's how we start to understand sense data, is that it's consistent, and then we call the source of this consistency, whatever's causing it to be consistent, that's this external world to us. That world is external to us. Okay. And it doesn't really matter if we're in a computer or anything, or it's just an illusion. It's still, again, by definition, it becomes external to us, because it's not a part of the subjective part that we know. Okay, we don't really know where the sense perceptions are coming from, but we do know they show this kind of consistency. And even if we were wrong, and it's not really the senses that are consistent, but just mostly overlapping with the senses or something, then even then it doesn't matter, because what we really have from our consistent experiences are what we use to create our model of reality, including our consistent errors. Okay, like thinking of terms and things of what they are, rather than what they are becoming. Okay, or thinking that cause and effect are linked, two things that are linked, when really they're two names for an exchange of energy. Okay, these kinds of mistakes are so consistent, they count just as much as any sense perception or anything else, because our means for judging what's real is not actually that it comes from the senses, but just that it's super consistent. When we find something we believed that is inconsistent with the senses, then we can exclude it. Okay, but all the theories that we start with tend to come from things that were just consistent and come from evolutionary biology. Even if they are true, they're not going to be exactly true. More likely be a grain of truth, or a reason that it's in that shape. But not that we'll really understand it. It'll be something crude, like not a really sophisticated modern physics idea of cause and effect, but just some old commonsensical one. And these kinds of errors are so consistent in all of our thinking that they get abstracted out with all of the sense data that's consistent, and that's what we're building our models on. So when you look at objectivity as a subset of subjectivity, based on the principle that if you build a church out of bricks, you got bricks in the church. The church is still made of brick. Okay, so we built objectivity out of subjective bricks, and so it's still made of subjectivity. It tells you a couple things. One is that once you realize that we're all subjective, and that we're stuck in this subjectivism, you can pursue objectivity again.